What's up, guys? Thanks for joining us here today at Sport Optics. My name is Jace. I'm one of the head sales elves here at the company. And today I wanted to come to y'all and talk to y'all about some long-range shooting optics and accessories that may be perfect for a gift this season, or maybe you're just looking to treat yourself. We have things for everybody's budget, from the entry-level stuff all the way up to the professional shooter and beyond. And I'm excited to talk to you all about it today. And also, just as a disclosure, any of the prices that I mentioned today are current list prices, but keep an eye out on our website as well as all of our social media for any promotions, deals, discounts, anything we might have going on during this holiday season. So with that being said, we're gonna kind of dive right into it with our first scope. And what I kind of wanted to bring up today for our first scope would be for the guy that doesn't know if he wants to get into it, just wanting to try it, which I think is great. Long-range shooting sports are becoming very prolific these days, which is fantastic. And for the guy saying, hey, you know, maybe I don't want to jump right into spending $2-3 grand, whatever. I just kind of want to try it. I think the scope that I'm about to talk about is the perfect option for that. And that scope is the Vortex Diamondback Tactical. It specifically comes with a 6-24 magnification range, which is a fantastic magnification range for any type of long-range shooting or competitive shooting. You can shoot at any realistic distance you want to with that magnification range. It's going to have a 30mm tube, which is going to give you plenty of adjustment for dialing. It's going to have a very intelligent Christmas tree style first focal plane reticle, so you can take advantage of that for if you're doing any kind of holdovers or anything like that. And, you know, all in all, just a really solid scope, nice tactile turrets, just, again, for the guy that's want to just try it out and seeing how it's going to go for him. And this guy is listed right now at $449, which I know some of you guys may not think that that's a cheap scope per se, but for the feature set that this guy has and what you're able to do with it, this is an extreme value, to say the least. So if you're like, hey, I want to spend $500 on a scope. Not that there's that many options out there, you know, to be perfectly honest with you. But if that's what you're working with, look no further than this scope right here. It's going to be pretty darn good for the money. Now that we've kind of talked about our best option as far as our entry-level stuff goes, kind of the best bang for your buck, we can kind of start to move up in quality from there. So another scope that I really want to highlight that is really not too much of a jump from that Diamondback Tactical. If you're wanting to spend just a little bit more potentially to get what I would consider to be a pretty noticeable upgrade as far as quality and performance goes. We're sticking in the Vortex brand, and I think we would look no further than the Vortex Strike Eagle. This offering's been out about a year or so. It's relatively new to the market, and this is the 5-25 by 56 Strike Eagle. It has as the name would suggest, a 5-25 magnification range, so still excellent magnification range for any type of long range shooting or competitive use. Still has a intelligent first focal plane reticle. We're bumping up into a 34mm tube, which is going to give us even more adjustment and a slightly larger field of view. Slightly upgraded turrets. The turrets in these is fantastic for the price point. And going back to the reticle, we still have that first focal plane Christmas tree style reticle, and we have options for illumination. So for the price point, which on this right now is $799 as of November 2023, still an incredible value for what all you're getting in this scope for under $1,000. It's absolutely fantastic. And moving right along into our next category, I can't tell you how many times I've had the conversation over the phone of, hey Jace, I have about $1,000 I want to spend and I want to get into, you know, competitive shooting, long range shooting, a good target scope essentially. And that's a great budget to start off with if you're around that price point and you're starting to get into the, you know, the kind of mid upper echelon of optics at that point, stuff you'll start seeing at, you know, more serious competitions and optics that are going to treat you pretty darn well. So to kind of start off our list there, we're going to bounce to a scope that's been on the market for a while now. but it's still as popular than ever, and still trucking, still does great, and still performs very well for a lot of good shooters. And that is our Vortex Viper PST Gen 2. This is the 5-25 by 50. Again, you know, kind of in the same vein as that Strike Eagle. You're going to move into a little bit better turrets, a little higher quality glass, and that's going to be your two main differences is the glass and the turrets. Still a very intelligent first focal plane reticle with illumination, parallax adjustment, you know, all the fun stuff that you come to expect out of an optic like this, just with, you know, a touch better features. And then from there, we have a couple more options that I think would be an excellent addition to a shooter's arsenal. We're gonna bounce to an optic that people, I think, tend to sleep on a little bit. And it's a shame because it's a fantastic optic from a very reputable company and with some really solid glass. And that's gonna be the Meopta Optika6, specifically the 5-30 by 56 model. This optic comes out of the Czech Republic. The Meopta does all of their manufacturing in-house in their facility in the Czech Republic, using their own spec'd out glass. So it's European glass. And, you know, again, very tall, readable, tactile turrets, nice and clicky, plenty of adjustment, parallax adjustment, illumination, the whole nine. You know, a 34 millimeter tube, comes with a integral throw lever that you can put in different positions for, you know, for wherever you want. And all in all, just another just really solid optic for the price. This one's going to come in listed at $1249.99, and just like, you know, the other options we've talked about so far, at its particular price point, it's a really great optic. And again, I just don't see a lot of people scooping these up, and I think that's really just comes down to awareness. A lot of people just don't know about them. So if I can spread some awareness about the the high quality of Meopta optics, that's a win by itself. Now to our third option in the $1,000 to $1,500-ish price point. That's going to bring us into the Burris XTR III, specifically the 5.5-30 by 56. And full disclosure, this optic was actually my first foray into the long-range precision shooting world, and it treated me very well for a long time. And it was an absolutely fantastic optic. You have a 5.5-30 magnification range, which I think up to this point, that's the highest magnification range scope we've talked about so far, and even more so, able to do any realistic distance than most people are going to use. A fantastic reticle in these. I specifically like what they call their SCR reticle, which comes in both mil and MOA. And another, you know, Burris's take essentially on the Christmas tree first focal plane reticle. 34 millimeter tube, 56 millimeter objective. You know, for the price point, still staying, you know, sub $1,500. Man, the Burris XTR III is an absolute slam dunk. Oh, what's up, guys? Got a little stack going on for our next section here. So we're going to move right on along into our kind of 2000-ish plus category. A lot of these guys here are going to be the scopes you see in the production class in PRS shoots, which, for those of you that may not know, you have an actual dollar amount limitation on the scope you're able to use in that class, which is $2,500 and under. We'll have a couple of these that go a little over that, and obviously some later in the video, but we're getting into a lot of the guys that you're gonna see, you know, going into some really serious use and being real competitors in the competitive world. And again, just being really, really awesome scopes for their respective price point. So to start off, we're gonna talk about this guy right here, which I know we're working out of a box, so bear with me. but this is the Leupold Mark V, specifically the 5-25 by 56. A very, very well-known brand, well-known scope itself, has been around for a while, has a pretty good track record, and does pretty well in the competitive circuit as well as just for long-range shooting in general. You'll kind of notice a trend here of a 5-25 magnification range, or something close to that tends to be the most popular magnification range for this type of scope, and for good reason. You can dial it down for closer up shots, and realistically 25 power is just an overall good top end for, you know, any kind of shooting that most people are going to do. And that Mark V comes in and does a great job. Leupold's an American company, you know, granddad, shout out Leupold on his deer rifle, right? Everybody knows it and loves that gold ring, and, you know, for the money, still coming in to be a really, really solid optic. Next up in this category is going to be the Zeiss LRP S3. Zeiss came out with this guy about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, and it kind of took the production division by storm. They basically specifically kind of priced this optic and its other variant specifically to fit in that category, but its feature set kind of punches above its weight class, if that makes sense. This is the 4-25 model, and they also make a 6-36 model, which is one of my personal favorites and actually what I use on my current production PRS setup. But, you know, I might sound like I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but, you know, same thing. Great first focal plane reticle, really, really solid illumination. The turrets on the S3 in particular are fantastic, akin to turrets that you would see on a, you know, $3,000 or $4,000 scope. And, you know, some of the same glass that you know and love from Zeiss, and all in all, just a really, really good option for anybody trying to stay in that production level of that PRS circuit, or just, you know, needing a long range scope and at that particular budget. Next up, I bet you guys were wondering when we were going to talk about a Nightforce optic, and here we go. So our first Nightforce optic that we're going to kind of dive in today is the NX8, which is a really, really unique optic, and it fills kind of a gap in the optics industry that nobody else has really kind of done quite yet. I get a lot of guys that'll call me, and they're hunters and they're long range shooters. They start out doing kind of one or the other, and then they're like, hey, I'm a long range shooter wanting to get into hunting, or the opposite, I'm a hunter but also want to do some long range shooting. Generally, scopes are kind of, you know, one or the other. Obviously, you can do whatever with whatever, but scopes are kind of purpose built either for long range shooting or for hunting, and there's not really kind of a jack of all trades. Well, that's kind of what this NX8 is. It's your best option as far as something that you can do kind of a little bit of everything with. It's a extremely large magnification range, a 4-32, an 8 times magnification range. It's wild. And it's pretty darn usable throughout that entire range, which is also super nice. And then the fact that it still maintains a 50mm objective lens and a 30mm tube helps cut down on the weight for the guys that do want to use them in hunting scenarios. But you still have the rugged reliability and the adjustment that you come to expect out of a Nightforce scope. So for what it is, for as versatile as a scope as the NX8 is, I think Nightforce kind of had a slam dunk with it when they came out with it a few years ago, and it's still as popular as ever, still doing very well, and I still recommend this guy constantly for a lot of guys out there. So next up, we're doubling down on Nightforce. We're going to jump right into the ATACR 5-25. Now, at this point, we're kind of getting out of that production level price range. This scope specifically is currently listed at $2,700. And this has been Nightforce's flagship line for years. The ATACR line is definitely in the upper echelon of the current optics market, with good reason. You know, we've seen a lot of these overseas, and people have done work with them over there. They've been used in the competitive circuit for years, as well as just by a lot of long-range shooters in general. This is without a doubt the most durable optic on the market. So for any of you guys that are beating and banging your stuff around a lot, or you think you're going to be in a situation where you might drop this out of a tree or down a mountainside or off of a side-by-side, whatever it may be, the Nightforce is going to take a licking and keep on ticking, that's for sure. Last but not least on our $2,000 to $3,000 list is none other than the Vortex Razor HD Gen III 6 to 36 scope. This came out a year or so ago, and just like its predecessor, the Gen 2 before it, has taken the competitive and the long-range shooting scene by storm. Vortex had a really solid contender on their hands with the Gen 2s, and then they basically took the features of that scope and made it better, and then bam, you got the Gen 3. So they increased the magnification range from 4.5 to 27 to 6 to 36, which is absolutely massive. Fantastic magnification range to do realistically any kind of shooting you want to do. They improved the turrets on these guys, so the turrets feel great and are very user-friendly. They still come in this cool color that you know and love, and of course they are still backed by the Vortex lifetime unconditional VIP warranty. So anything outside of this thing being lost or stolen, if anything goes wrong with this scope, Vortex will take care of it, replace it, fix it, whatever, no questions asked, and send it right back to you quick, fast, and in a hurry. And I've seen some guys take some trophies with these, as well as some of the other options we've talked about, and these perform extremely well. You know, if you're, like I said, if you're, you know, trying to get into that upper echelon, this is an investment for sure. These currently are listed at $29.99, which, you know, still for the money, I think it's a value for what it is. But this is certainly a man's optic, right? And it's going to do fantastic for you. And now we're getting to the Mac daddies of them all, the creme de la cremes, the cream of the crops. For that professional shooter in your life, or if you yourself just need to treat yourself to some of the best optics in the industry, I've picked out a few here for you, and we're going to talk about them. All right, guys, and to start off our list of the big guys, we're going to have the Kahles K525i 525 by 56, the DLR model with the 10mm turrets, and this model specifically is has the Skimmer 4 reticle, which is their most recent iteration of the Skimmer reticles, and it's, you know, in itself a fantastic reticle. These listed right now are at $38.49, and I mean, what can I say? You know, Kahles has been around for over 100 years at this point. They were one of the first companies in the world making first focal plane reticles, and they have absolutely perfected it over the last century. Crystal clear glass, some of the highest grade of shot glass coming out of Europe. And, you know, you see these on a lot of, as well as the other ones we're about to talk about, you see these on a lot of pro shooters' guns, and for good reason. They're known for their tracking, their optical quality, their durability. Really nothing bad to say about the Kahles or any of the scopes for that matter. Moving right along, next up we have the Zeiss LRP S5, specifically the 5 to 25 by 56. Zeiss came out with these a little over a year ago at this point, and they shook up the market, I would say. The S5s have some of the best glass in existence, extremely high quality shot glass. They have some of the best turrets in the industry on this guy, one of the most intuitive and easy to set up zero stop systems. And all in all, just a really fantastic scope. All right, and for our penultimate scope, we are featuring the Zero Compromise, or as a lot of you know it, ZCO. Been on the market for a few years now, have really started shining here in the last couple years or so. You'll see a lot more of these on the professional circuit, as well as just on long range enthusiast scopes in general these days. These things are about as close as you can get to Nightforce durability. Still absolutely fantastic turrets in these. A 36 millimeter tube in these guys, which I believe as it stands on this list, as well as just in general, one of the only 36 mil tubes on the market. So you have just an absolutely massive amount of adjustment in these. So any of my guys doing like extreme long range shooting or anything like that may want to seriously consider looking at the ZCO. And just like with the rest of these guys, some of the highest grade glass in existence, and just a really, really overbuilt, solid scope. All right, guys, and I bet you could have all guessed what was going to be our last scope on the table to talk about today, and it is none other than the elitist of the elite from our brothers to the north, the Tangent Theta. If you burn money for warmth, if money is no object and you want the absolute best of the best, this is your guy right here. Tried and true, really. They've been around for a few years now. Absolutely excellent turrets. The illumination in these is fantastic. Fantastic reticle. Some of the best shot glass put into existence to this day, and is gonna, do exactly what you need it to do, whether you're under the clock or you're just taking it out for a day at the range, or whether you need to put that perfect shot on an elk at 700 yards. Literally whatever you can ask this scope for, it is going to perform, it's going to do it, and it's going to do it better than just about anything else on the market. Again, just to reiterate, this thing, it's an investment. It's not cheap, but when it comes to glass and the engineering put into this thing, you are without a doubt getting what you're paying for. As it stands right now, these things are listed at $47.33 on our site. But again, just to reiterate, I don't want to sound like I'm beating a dead horse here, but this thing is, to own it is to love it, to say the least. And this thing is going to be something that you could pass down to your kids and your kids' kids, and it's going to work just as well as the day you got it. And you're gonna be very happy with it. All right, guys. So now that we've talked about the most important part of the long-range shooting setup, we're gonna kind of talk about what I feel is some valuable accessories that may just kind of add to your experience. If you want to just, hey, mount up a scope and go out and shoot, hey, more power to you. That's awesome. You certainly can do that. But if you want to, maybe a little down the line or something sometime, you want to just enhance your experience, give yourself a little more capability, I think the accessories that I'm about to go over with you are 100% going to do that for you. So the first accessory that we're going to talk about is the Razor HD 4000 with the geoballistics built in. The standalone Razor HD 4000 has been a flagship in rangefinders for years, with good reason. It's well-known, durable, fantastic optic. I personally use one myself, and now a few months ago, Vortex decided to enhance the capability in these guys, and they came out with the geoballistics model, which for those of you who may not be familiar with geoballistics, it is essentially a ballistics software which is now built into the rangefinder. So after you put in your ballistics, your data, all that fun stuff, you can laze a target. It will give you a ballistic solution in your field of view, and you simply dial on your optic, and then bam, you're gonna be right on hitting your target. All right, and for our second accessory, we're gonna talk about the Vortex Impact 4000, kind of in the same vein as the rangefinder with the built-in geoballistics. This version is simply just going to be mountable to your firearm. So it's a little more intuitive, a little more easy to use, as well as can be, it'll be faster, if you're in certain situations, whether it be in a competitive environment or in a hunting environment where you don't have the luxury of using a rangefinder and then getting behind your gun. You can essentially stay behind your gun, use this, get your solution, dial, and you're on target quick, fast, and in a hurry. And to round off what I think would potentially enhance a long-range shooter's capability, we have the Zeiss Victory RFs. These specifically are the 10x42 variants, but they also come in a 8x42 as well as a 8 and 10 by 54. And these are essentially going to do kind of the same things as the other two items that we've looked at, but instead of a weapon mounted rangefinder or a monocular style rangefinder, these are an extremely high quality pair of binoculars that have a rangefinder built in as well as ballistic solutions. So for extended periods of glassing, you know, it's a lot more comfortable, a lot easier on the eyes to use both eyes instead of just one. Not to mention the Zeiss itself is going to have some of the highest quality of glass in the industry, as you already know, as we've already talked about. So again, you know, definitely an investment. These right now are listed at $39.99, but an absolutely fantastic piece of equipment for those of you that are trying to just absolutely maximize your capability on the range or on that hunt out west. So now we've talked about a lot of different products at a lot of different price points. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything that we talked about or anything beyond, anything that we have on our website over at SportOptics.com, I'm happy to go into as much detail about it as you may want to and absolutely narrow everything down and help your buying experience during this holiday season. So if you really want to shake up the tree, I know it's been shaking this entire time, feel free to give me a call and we'll talk through it, and I'll be happy to help you out to the best of my ability. Thanks again for being here, and God bless.